world of tank blitzers and hopefully a few future mumrads. I'm Littlefinger, today doing a full tank review on the Tier 5 light German tank, the Leopard. You can see it here in the garage. This thing is a hoot to drive, one of my favorite Tier 5 tanks. And as you can see there in my equipment, one of the few Tier 5s that I would spend spare parts on. So let's take a look real quick at the tech tree. Leopard down there, bottom left-hand corner is going to come after the Lux. We're going to go up to the VK16.02, a very nice, fun tank to drive. The SP1C and the RU251 are both fun tanks to drive, but they are difficult to play well and difficult to make money in. But, you know, definitely worth at least getting up to the VK16.02 in my opinion. So what makes this tank so much fun to drive? Let's look at these characteristics. Look at this, maneuverability, 91%. You know, this tank just gets around and actually does, for a light tank, have pretty good armor. We've got 660 hit points, and you can see here our frontal armor is 50 millimeter, both on the hull and the turret. Sides are at 30. Maneuverability, you can see here our horsepower 655, speed limit 60 kilometers an hour. Traverse speed, we're turning almost 90 degrees per second. This tank can do a 360 full turnaround in 4 seconds. So you are definitely in control. You'll see in these games quite a bit of circle of death in this tank, and that is why it is so much fun. You can see here with the top gun, the MK103, comes with 12 shells in the magazine. The reload in between those is negligible. You're just going to fire off those shots, but it does take 11 seconds to do a full magazine reload. Your AP numbers 100, 115, and 16 for HE. Can be a little bit challenging, and that's actually with the calibrated shells on it. Let's go back and take a look and decide if you're going to run vents. That's 95, 110, and 15. This can get you in a little bit of trouble at Tier 6, but if you're up against Tier 5s and 4s, that's all you really need. So 25 damage per shot, multiply that by 12 shells, you're doing over 250 damage per clip. Aim time is 3.7. So let me just show you consumables, what I'm running, which is repair kit, multi-purpose restoration, and I do run a fire extinguisher. Don't feel the need for an engine boost because this thing has got such a great engine. First aid kit, well, I run 2 packs, so I typically use those for any repairs, crew repairs that I need to make in game. Protective kit, I am running the top 3 here. Protective kit, the improved fuel, and chocolate. Ammunition, you can see here, almost 280 rounds of AP. 60 rounds of APCR. You really don't need it that much, so it's kind of a low number there. Reminder, you can change that to credits by pushing on the shell price button, and only a few rounds of HE for the occasional toaster that you might run into. So, equipment. As I said before, this is one of those tanks where I would spend a few spare parts on because this is a keeper of a tank. You'll notice here that I had it on calibrated shells when I first pulled up the specs. I had been running it all the games that I recorded were on the vents. I just think that improves just a whole host of categories here that are worthwhile. But I did run into a little bit of difficulty at Tier 6 with some penetrations, and I'll show you one example of that against an SU-100, which only has 75 millimeters frontal armor, but I couldn't pen it from the front. So this one might be a toss-up as to which one you prefer. I can see arguments going both ways here. 100 on the AP is pretty good. So I would, if I had to hedge a bet here, I would, for the average player, I would say calibrated shells. Protected modules versus enhanced cabin. Well, I've been over this several times. I'm going to run with the protected modules. Improved optics is a definite yes on this tank. Get that view range up to 286. It's a great tank. You've got great camouflage numbers already. No point wasting a camo net on that. And you can see here I do have 2 level 2s. I've gone with the supercharge. There's not a lot of times where you're really shooting at distance, but I figured that shell velocity can't hurt there. And most of the times you'll notice when I'm playing these games, I'm up close, I'm personal. Aiming really isn't a big issue for me with this tank. I'm not going to spend the spare parts to get enhanced armor or improved assembly. If I did, since this has 50 millimeters, you're going to get 2.5 extra. It might go with enhanced armor there. And of course, I'm running with the improved control here. This is what's got that traverse speed up almost close to 90. If we combine it with vents there, you can see we're at almost 89. So if you do want to move down into the vertical stabilizer versus refined gun, I would definitely go with the vert stabilizer. Enhanced tracks versus toolbox, probably go with the toolbox there. Consumable delivery system versus the high-end consumables. Again, depends upon what you're running. If you're running an engine boost and adrenaline, I would choose consumables. If you're running repair kits, I would stick here with the delivery system. So let's take a look at how this tank compares to some of the others in the tier. So here we are on the blitzstars.com website using the Tank Compare app, and I've got the VK16.02 Leopard pulled up on the left, and I've got the 3 other tier 5s light tanks, the AMX ELC, the Crusader, and the M24 Chaffee. Went ahead and added the M7 just to get that Columbus Day advertisement off of the screen. But anyway, if we look at DPM 1447, we're right smack in the middle. The Crusader is obviously pushing that curve high, and we are right in line with that M7 as a medium. But the downside, penetration 95. I showed you could get that up to 100 with the calibrated shells. Even still, we are well below these other tanks. The M24 Chaffee comes in next worst as far as the light tanks at 115, whereas the ELC has 170 millimeters of penetration. We are only doing 25 damage per shot, but keep in mind our magazine holds 12 rounds, so a full clip can do some serious damage. This is just a 30 caliber gun versus the 95, the 90 or the 75, 57, 76 there. So obviously this gun is a lot smaller, but our shell velocity is high, although you're not going to want to shoot this tank from a distance just because of the dispersion. So if we move on down to the weapon handling here, aim time at 1.7, right in line with the rest of these. You're not going to tell much of a difference. The dispersion at 0.379 there across the board. Again, not much difference in these guns. 10 degrees of negative gun depression with 20 positive. The gun is really good on this, and that's what part of the reason it makes it so much fun to play. The AMX there is obviously limited with the 35 degrees of turret traverse, but we've got obviously 360 degrees on the Leopard. Looking at movement and mobility here, 60 kilometers per hour. It's only bested by the ELC at 65, but if you look at the Crusader at 44, we're way above it. So why is that? Engine horsepower of 644, terrain resistance of 0.8. This has some fantastic numbers there. It gives us an effective horsepower to ton of 38.3. And you can still, that just about blows away everything but the ELC. Credit coefficient is quite nice at 140. View range right in line with the rest. Hit point 660. A little bit on the light side, but if you look at the hull and turret armor, we are way above those other numbers, almost double in some cases. The Crusaders are at 32, AMX ELC at 25 on the front hull. We're at 50. You get this thing angled nicely and you will get some bounces, I promise you. But if we look at the win rate there, kind of right in line with all of the other ones, and the average damage is just 765. Average kill is just over 1. So take these numbers here and make it your benchmark and try to do better than this. All right, first game here on Rockfield as top tier. And I put this review here first, this gameplay first, just because I think it's a good example of the type of play style you can get yourself into with this tank. So you can see here we are motoring up left. That was the team call. I'm feeling pretty confident right now that they're not going to be coming left just because of the makeup of their team. So I'm pushing hard. I'm trying to get spots as they go around the backside of the hill there. And sure enough, a couple of them pop up, and I'm going to try to get myself into a position where I can shoot at them. And so as I'm doing that, this M3 Lee pops into view. So nice big target. I'll go ahead and get a shot on him. You can see that PZ hits our tracks and we absorb it and we don't take any damage. The M3 Lee is now turned away from us. 226 damage with that roll there. And so because that PZ was pushing around on me, I decided I'd go ahead and push hard on the M3 Lee, finish this poor guy off. And I thought that the PZ was headed back around when he dropped off the map there. So here he comes. He gets a shot into me. We'll unload a full clip there, just over 200 damage. And you can see how fast you can get around and circle them, even going this long distance around. We'll get him from behind here. A little bit slow accelerating, and he does get a shot on behind me, and I see that the Stug there has come to join the party, so to speak, and so we'll just peek around the corner and light him on fire. And you will notice you do cause a lot of fires with this tank, because you're getting a lot of shots and shells into those areas that can start fires. So anyway, you can see how much driving you can do in this tank, how mobile it is. There's our last guy, Leo, power sliding through the curves. Got a little drift going on. We're gonna find this guy. And it's even a pretty decent ramming tank on tier 4s. But anyway, you can see there, that was 1,738 damage. And we basically didn't stop moving the entire game. Fast gameplay, lots of shooting, and a lot of fun to drive. Alright, second game, Oasis Palms, bottom tier. Just wanted to show you a little bit of what it's like to be the bottom tier in the Leo, and having essentially 100 millimeters of pen on your AP round. So I've taken a look at the teams. There are a lot of heavies, so I'm thinking that they'll be going to the right, and sure enough they have when I spot this SU-100. And you can see here he's coming up the hill. Has about 75 millimeters frontal armor, looking like I can penetrate that no problem, and I am doing 0 damage. 2 rounds, so I'm going to switch over to APCR. Again, I get 1 round in out of all of that. Obviously, he was angled up, and that front was angled, so his effective armor was well over 100, but it certainly didn't look like it from the heat skin there. So in a one-on-one here with the Covenanter, just trying to keep him in front of me, and he will drive into a rock, and you can see the damage you can do quickly. Now I'm just being cautious, staying low on the hills, not cresting the hills. I'm staying low so I'm covered, and we've got a sizable advantage here. The SA-35 is pulled around there, or S-35CA. Unload a full clip into him. KV-2 and the T-150 are over there, and I'm gonna try to use my speed, and he gets a nice big chunk into me there, 332. Didn't realize that the T-150 has such a quick turret, but as you can see, I'm coming around this, and he's already turned and facing me, and he gets the shot in. Finishes me off, but we'll speed it up here. The team will just finish this off real quick. But you can see up against some of these heavies, TDs at tier 6, you're going to have problems. So only 867 damage. Okay, so here we are on Black Goldville as bottom tier, and putting these two games back to back to show you a little bit better way to handle the Leo as bottom tier. You can see the call was caves. I've pushed up, but I am not going to lead the pack this time. I am going to let these other two tanks do the spotting, and I'm going to get myself into cover now that they've spotted these three tanks over here. And I'm just going to assess which way to go. I'm thinking that I can get around the cave here and get some shots in. I see that KV-2's there. He takes out the 100Y with one shot, basically. And then, you know what? There's no point me being around here with all of those heavy tanks facing me. The best way to use this tank is its speed, mobility, and just getting around the map. So I've decided to try to flank around when I see this ARL coming at me. Look at that red. More red. There's nothing I can do. I was trying to back up, but he snapshotted that in there and got a lucky shot. He does turn the turret there and lets me shoot the side of it. But now it's just a matter of keeping him distracted by these other tanks. I'll get behind him and put a full clip from behind, which is where we can penetrate much easier. So the guys on the caves have done a good job keeping them in position, and we've cleaned up the flank, and now we can start getting behind these guys. And you'll see here I am taking the long way around. Again, want to stay in as much cover as possible. Gonna come up behind this rock here, and we'll get a full clip here. 240 something there into the side of the SU. As we're reloading, he gets taken out. KV-2 now, and one other tank who's going to come right underneath me, so I'm going to drop right behind him. Looks like that KV-2 shot and missed our small target, and VK gets finished off. And now it's a matter of getting around to the side or back of the KV-2, and we'll be patient. We'll wait till he goes sideways, and another fire, and we finish him off. So being much more mobile and not sitting in the same spot, use this that's the tank speed to relocate and get behind some of the targets. This time we are top tier on Yamato Harbor. Gonna go right. That is one of my favorite places to go. Much rather fight in the hills with this tank. But we're gonna be patient, and we're gonna see if anyone crusts over that ridge there. And you'll see that our guys are scattering everywhere, which is not a good sign. A couple of them have spotted up, so we'll get a few rounds into the BDR there. Obviously some of those are going to bounce. This tank's got fairly good armor for a tier 5, and we're just going to be patient and reload, and then get another round into him. Almost 100 damage there. Meanwhile, I noticed that the toaster is over there, and we get a few shots into him before he backs down. Want to be aggressive here and try to take him out. Probably should have gone left as I come up over here, and he's gotten away. He's got some good speed. So that's when I'm going to engage with this Leo here. After I surprise that SU there. Here comes the Leo. We are down 2 tanks at this point. And get into a bit of a chasing match with the Leo here. Probably should have just turned and faced him. Well, we get a full clip into him. Do a little bit of damage there with the ram. So about 380 damage. He gets us back for a couple hundred. And we're able to then finish him off after we've reloaded and had some support. But it's now the 3 of us left. This is when I crest over this hill, and oh, that gun depression. But I still managed to finish him off, taking a shot there from the T-28. Now I am doing a COD on 2 tanks. Yes, that's right, COD on 2 tanks. Get a little bit of help there. Trying to stay alive here, and he bounces that shot. We set him on fire, and we ran into the toaster, and now we're just trying to get away. Oh, forgot BDR was over there. But you know, it's one of those games where the team didn't help out too much, but we managed to farm out over 2,000 damage, 2 kills. Kind of unfortunately, and not a very good team, but that happens, right, guys? All right, here we are on Canal as top tier. I am going to push left with this Anko and keep an eye on my mini map and see where the rest of the team's gone. Got one gone straight to base. The others have been slow to move. Looks like they're headed towards base. I wasn't thinking that anyone would be coming around when the Leo shows up, so I go to engage him and only do a few damage there. And now the rest of their team has been spotted. That guy that was with me is beyond saving, and really I just need to get out of here and conserve some hit points. It's okay to take a shot or two because we can make up that damage later on, but staying in there fighting a 5-on-1 situation is not gonna last long, so I'd much rather get to safety, relocate, and stay alive and do more damage. So We've driven around the map for the most part, and I'm just going to pull up beside these rocks so that I have cover after I shoot, and we will go ahead and unload a clip and finish him off for kill number 1. Saw the KV was going up on the hill there. He is angled, so I'm going to go ahead and switch over to APCR. I only do 80 damage there. And that you'll see is the issue with shooting this gun at a distance. The dispersion is all over the place. It's certainly not very consistent. Tank's not quite strong enough to go up the steepest part of those hills, so we'll regroup here. They're all behind the safety of those hills there, so we'll see if we can't spot them around here. Nope. And that Leo has driven through the heart of their team. When we find their Anko, we set him on fire. Remember, I said you will set quite a number of fires with this. His engine is damaged, so we can come in behind him and just finish him off. And I see a couple guys headed this way, so want to get around to somewhere safe. And up and over the hill we go. Now, unbeknownst to me at this point, if you look at the mini map in the top left corner there's going to be 2 dots that pretty much stop moving in a minute. So I should have probably waited and let that aim and made sure every shot counted there on the Leo, because I only did 100 damage, but I was hoping to get some HE shots into the toaster, which we do. And then I do some bad driving and forget that this pole is here. Oops. And poor Leo runs right into 3 of their tanks, but I want to go ahead and get rid of the toaster, so we'll finish him off. And now I need to get to safety quickly. And if you notice, the 2 remaining dots do not move the rest of the game, so it's just me, and I've realized that at this point in time. So I'm going to be cautious and try to do a little bit more of a surprise attack on these guys. Try to separate one from the other if I can, because I'm not going to last if I face them 2-on-1. So I'm going to pop over the hill here, see what we spot. There's the KV. We get a few into him for 99 damage. And then I act like I'm running away again. Now I figure I'm dropped off the radar and I can circle back on them. The SAU has come over the hill, and so I have basically successfully separated him from the KV. He's going to miss his shot. It's awfully distracting when you're getting 12 rounds in on you, whether or not they're hitting or not. That's awfully distracting. So go ahead and finish him off. And now it's just us and the KV. So I'm thinking that he did not go around, but he was going to come around here. He gets a shot into me, which is okay. And we will fix our driver there with our repair kit. And notice how we use our traverse speed to back up and turn right and keep circling him. So we're not doing a complete circle because of his maneuvers. He's stopped and gone back the other way. But we're making sure that we're staying as perpendicular to him as possible. And even going backwards, he still can't get us. So we managed to get 5 kills there. 1,863 damage. And just a really fun playstyle, in my opinion. You can be all over the map. You can relocate. You can get behind people. Just a super fun tank to play. Alright, so one last game, Rockfield. We are spawning here on the south side. We've got an AT on our team who's asking for a push, and what I notice is that all of the team just sits back there and look at me. I've come all the way up. They haven't even moved out of spawn yet. So I'm definitely not pushing forward, and when their tanks all swarm in around me, I make the decision to get out of there, take some hit points, but get out of there alive. So you can see I take about 200 hit points there, but you know, I'm still hanging on with 300 hit points, and I'm still alive. Had I stayed in the middle there, I'd have had 3 or 4 tanks on me. It probably wouldn't have lasted very long. So using this hill here, you can see I'm getting a really nice angle on the frontal armor. So anything that hits on the top plate there is going to bounce. And I get quite lucky here with the ammo rack on the opposing Leo. Nice to drop 600 hit points in a single round, that's for sure. So I've got the KV on the left. Don't want to take him on head-to-head, so I'm going to go up against the AMX 40. Drop 245. He's kind of weak on that lower plate. Kind of a bad mood pulling out a little bit too soon here on the reload, but I know he's got a long reload, so I'll go ahead and take him out. Now they're down to 3 guys left, surprisingly enough, with our slow start. And how many tier 5 tanks can do this? Back of a KV, and we're going to drop 305 hit points in one round. Part of the reason I really like this tank, I mean, you can't even be scared with the KVs, really. And the Wolverine's going to spot me being low health, and he's going to pick me off, but he's not going to survive. And we end up winning that game. But it was all, in my opinion, because I made that decision to spot and then stay alive. And sometimes you can do that, and that's what this tank is so great about. You know, its speed, its mobility, relocate, get behind it. And that type of playstyle is going to have to carry you forward when you get to, say, the RU or the SP1C. That's how those guys play, is spotting. Not necessarily doing a lot of damage, but doing your role as a spotter and then sneak up behind these guys. So it is a very fast play style, which I really enjoy. That's why, in my opinion, the Leopard is a keeper at tier 5. So anyway, guys, hope you got a few things out of this review, and as always, stay safe out there. It's just a game. Have fun, but remember, get educated, or else you might get fingered. Littlefinger out.